This is the program that shows you the side of police chase videos they didn't want you to see. Bungled arrests, kamikaze crooks and cop-based carnage of all kinds. Welcome to Cops Uncut, the real car crash TV.
On my way.
Coming up on Cops Uncut. This suspect gives us a show of hands. This lady bends over backwards to help the police. And this guy is flying by the seat of his pants.
Taking off again.
The police have plenty of resources, and it's a rare suspect indeed who manages to get away. So when you've stolen a car and the cops are on your tail, you might as well mix it up a bit. When you're fed up with the slow lane, try swapping sides and putting your foot down. This particular car thief makes it all the way to 100. When all of that overtaking gets boring, you can always sneak through on the inside. After all, it's perfectly legal in the States, so the cops aren't going to bump you off the road quite yet. And for a bit more variety, how about testing out the middle lane too? Drivers who hog the middle lane get a lot of stick, but perhaps they're onto something. You never know, you might find it exciting. If the people whose car you nicked were considerate enough to leave you a full tank of gas, there's no need to try anything rash, because out here on the highway, this chase can go long distance. Sometimes you will hit traffic though, and what better excuse to hit that narrow strip of tarmac next to the central reservation. If space is at a premium, it's time to find out what life is like on the hard shoulder. Although you should remember to check for breakdowns before you make a dash for it, and watch out because litter bugs will have left all sorts of junk lying around to get in your way. Once you get sick of the interstate, keep your eyes peeled for the next junction. And if you manage to negotiate the off-ramp successfully, you'll be rewarded with a change of scenery. Make sure you check your road signs though, because the cops won't want you to cross into the next state. This would entail all sorts of unnecessary admin, and once they've called in another police department to take up the chase, they're going to feel like they've wasted their time. Still, at least being a car thief was fun while it lasted. And finally, getting boxed in gives you the chance to make use of the only remaining bits of the road you haven't yet tested. Time to drive across the central reservation. Dump your car in a ditch and stick your hands out of the window. Muppet. Still to come in part 1. This lady tries to sit down but misses the chair. And this suspect is hoping for a soft landing.
Taking off again.
Some people reckon that firemen have a pretty dangerous job. Others argue that the Coast Guard or mountain rescue is the toughest profession around. But we still think that being a traffic cop should carry the strongest health warning of all. The hard shoulder isn't the kind of place you want to be standing, particularly at 2:45 in the morning. Half of the people driving past are drunk, and the other half are asleep, so it's all too easy for something like this to happen. But this cop really is hard as nails. He checks to see that another cruiser is giving chase, then calmly gets back to questioning the driver of this pickup. He's more concerned with the damage to his car than the damage to his trousers. And once the paperwork is done, it's time to get back in the cruiser and get on with the job. It didn't take long for his colleagues to pull over the perp of this near miss, so now it's time to make the suspect take his own walk along the hard shoulder. And if this field sobriety test is anything to go by, it looks like his walking skills are as erratic as his driving. He was eventually charged with driving under the influence and possession of a controlled substance. Meanwhile, our heroic cop got back to laughing in the face of fear and eating crooks like this for breakfast. Just as soon as he's dislodged the wing mirror from his arse, that is. As a cop, not everyone you arrest is going to be a burly bloke with tattoos and a bad attitude. Many of your wrongdoers will be female, and although some American women also have tattoos and a bad attitude, most look like they wouldn't hurt a fly. Don't be fooled, because beneath even the mousiest looking gal can lurk a wild animal waiting to pounce. Take Weeping Christina here. There she is, cowering in the corner of the cop shop and quietly sobbing to herself as this officer goes over the details of her case. If you've been around long enough, you'll know that just because your perp's got a ponytail doesn't mean she should get preferential treatment. Amongst the 8 charges Christina's been hauled in on are consuming alcohol in a motor vehicle, obstruction of official business, driving under the influence, driving under suspension, and assaulting a cop. If you ask someone like this to sign a form, you're not going to need another cop on hand as a witness, you're going to need him as a backup. Sure enough, Christina likes to think she knows a thing or two about legal procedure and pulls out the old chestnut of wanting to talk to her lawyer.
Officer
Gunman, D-E-N-M-A-N.
You can't do this without letting me call my attorney. No.
Obviously, you're not gonna go cooperative, right?
I'm cooperative.
Are you gonna sign that, yes or no?
This is just a diversionary tactic. So, like Officer Denman, you have to be firm but fair. Be aware, though, that your feisty felon won't like being told what to do and is liable to become even less cooperative.
You contact your attorney at the court. Or at the...
It's at this point that you may be forced to deploy the earplugs.
Stop moving.
I'm not moving anything.
And if you're in close proximity to her, there's always the danger that your suspect will try to accuse you of sexual harassment.
Don't get your hands off me! You understand? Get your hands off of me!
Taser, deploy. Now, are you going to cooperate, Christine? Are you going to cooperate?
That was a rhetorical question.
Charged with consuming in a motor vehicle?
So, time for a quick recap. All of the best police academy recruits have a way with the ladies.
Does not need any kind of guilt whatsoever. All it means that you're going to simply come to your court charge and understood it.
Although that doesn't mean to say they're against sexual equality. Because if a man is entitled to be flattened with 50,000 volts, then so is a woman. Class dismissed.
Taking off again.
What did the cops do to stop a stolen car in the old days? There was the pit maneuver, of course, but barging some off the road is a pretty dangerous business, and the repair bill can be astronomical. Cars didn't used to be as fuel efficient, so perhaps they just waited until their suspect ran out of gas, although this would have led to some very long hours in the driver's seat. Fortunately, one afternoon in the early 70s, some bright spark sat down to watch wacky races and had an idea. When Dick Dastardly wants to get rid of one of his competitors, all he has to do is throw a handful of drawing pins on the road, and hey presto, 4 flat tires. Working on the same principle, the cartoon-loving cop went out to his garden shed and invented the spike strip, an ingenious device that's been foiling criminals ever since. So when the Tallapoosa Police Department came across this crazed crackhead tearing up the freeway, all they had to do was radio ahead for a well-placed stinger. Now his tires are in shreds, his speed is down to single figures, and the handling has gone from Testarossa to Trabant. With his caddy refusing to go in a straight line, there's nothing left to do but ditch it and try to stand on his own 2 feet. Although it's not going to be easy to keep up the chase when he can barely keep up his trousers. This crack-smoking criminal took on the cops in a wacky race. But once they'd wrecked his wheels, he had to make a pit stop. It's 7:40 a.m. in Bonifay, Florida, and Officer Russell is sitting in a lay-by, sipping his Starbucks. Most crims are still safely tucked up in bed at this time of the morning, and that's exactly where he would prefer to be. Even the dash cam is seeing double. And having received a call for assistance, it's about as much as he can do to drive in a straight line. Perhaps Russell is recovering from a hangover, or perhaps the caffeine hasn't kicked in yet, because it takes quite a while to get the patrol car going, and even when it's up to speed, he doesn't appear to be in much of a hurry. As for the job in hand, a couple of miles up the road, his colleagues are busy trying to intercept a painter and decorator who's on his way to work.
We need to get some spike strips here. We're going up to the 4-lane on 79.
But this rogue trader isn't wanted for crimes against craftsmanship or for ripping off his customers. Because as well as making a killing on the job, he's also the main suspect in a murder case. When they catch up with this guy, he'll be waving more than just a brush at them, and the red marks on his overalls may not be Dulux emulsion. So if our cop can just stay focused on the white lines, it'll be time to join in with the DIY SOS. Their suspect has been on an off-road excursion, so the cop cars up ahead are waiting to see where he'll pop out. And Russell has timed his arrival to perfection, because just as he's pulling alongside, he spots a paint-spattered white pickup emerging from the undergrowth on his right. If anything is going to wake him up, it's leaping out of his patrol car with a gun in his hand as the suspect grinds to a halt in a ditch. The only radiator this handyman knows anything about is the kind you fix to a wall, because the one on his car has just cooked. This odd job man went from home improvement to homicide when he swapped his paint pot for a pistol. But now he's having a brush with the law, and instead of dodging customers, he's dodging bullets.
Taking Taking off again.
Still to come in part 2. This big rig has a blowout, and this suspect scowls for the camera.
Oh, that's some fucking bullshit, man. You got my soul phone.
To earn himself a 9 Lives award for cheating certain death, all this copper had to do was make one simple mistake. He's just about to pull someone over for speeding, but take a close look at exactly where they come to a halt. At first glance, this may look like the hard shoulder, but it is in fact the bit of road between the fast lane and the central reservation. So instead of cars and trucks thundering past at 50 or 60, 6 inches from his car door, they're thundering past at 80 or 90. If I was going to stand around here waiting for someone to fish their license out of the glove compartment, I'd want to be wearing some body armor and a crash helmet. I also wouldn't hang around any longer than was absolutely necessary, although this daredevil deputy seems quite happy to spend time discussing the finer points of traffic law. He should at least be facing towards the oncoming cars, but then again, it's not going to make much difference which way you're standing when this happens. It isn't possible to see exactly what hit us, but you can bet that it weighed several tons and was travelling fast enough to turn this patrol car into scrap. So this cop gets the 9 Lives award for jumping into the danger zone and still managing to land on his feet.
Taking off again.
Certain key features are necessary in any vehicle if it's going to stand a chance of outrunning the cops. Number 1 on the list is, of course, speed, so you'll need a decent engine. Handling comes a close second for when you're swerving to avoid traffic or taking a tight corner. Last but not least, your car should be inconspicuous, so no bright colours, no neon lights, and no flashy alloys. Some people like to break the rules though, and this crook has dared to ignore all 3 by making a run for it in a massive dumper truck. Sure, the engine is powerful, but its top speed isn't going to trouble a cop car. In fact, it probably wouldn't trouble a policeman on horseback. When it comes to handling, if you hear a beeping noise and a voice saying this vehicle is reversing whenever you park it in the driveway, the signs aren't encouraging. As for being inconspicuous, well, we'll let you be the judge. Safe to say, though, you're going to need a very big garage indeed if you want to abandon something as big as this. Yep, this is the Godzilla of getaway cars, but like David and Goliath, size is no substitute for skill. When the cops can hear their target coming from half a mile away, laying spike strips is a piece of cake, although it probably took 2 or 3 to make an impression on tyres as massive as that. Now they're blown, no one's going to lose track of this truck, which is giving off enough smoke to keep a kipper factory in business. The only danger now is if the driver tries to crush someone, and the cops are keeping the traffic as far away as possible. Even his CB radio isn't going to help him now, so this suspect needs to decide what he's going to do next. In the end, he opts for a U-turn, but without the element of surprise, it's hardly going to fool anyone. And without the element of speed, he's even closer to getting caught than before he turned the steering wheel. When you're a truck driver, there's normally a whole team of workmen in hard hats and high-vis vests to tell you where to go when you're making a maneuver. Without them, this guy is lost, and he's soon going slowly enough that there are cops trying to jump into his cab. It's difficult to see exactly what's going on from our camera position, but my guess is they're trying to tempt him down with the promise of a fry-up. Before long, there are enough officers on hand to handcuff a hippo, although most of them seem to have forgotten they're at work. Bet you never realized that subduing a suspect was a spectator sport. Once their colleagues have calmed him down and cuffed him, this dump truck desperado is going to lose his freedom and his HGV license. And finally, it's time to meet a drunk driver with star quality. Like many of his fellow offenders, this guy is stopped in the early hours after several beers too many. One sniff of his breath and it's time to swap the driver's seat of a sports car for the back seat of a cruiser. Once there's a camera on him, though, this crook really comes into his own. He does a good line in Mean and Moody, and whoever writes his dialogue has been watching plenty of gangster flicks.
So what's up? You going in my car to get my cell phone so I can make a phone call?
You can make a call from jail.
No, that's some fucking bullshit, man. Got my cell phone.
Mr. Tarantino would be proud. Next, it's time to play a few masochistic mind games.
What you gonna do? You gonna hit me? Fucking camera's right here. What you gonna do to hit me, bro? Hit me, bro. No, you want to. Come on. Smack me, you know you want to. Come on. You don't wanna hit me.
But this cop knows that the best way to piss off a prima donna is to ignore him completely. And now that he's deprived of publicity, this wannabe throws a tantrum. He decides to kick the dash cam out of the way. But the next time he gets to look into a lens, it'll be for his police mugshot. So what have we learnt today on Cops Uncut? Roads are made for driving along, not across. Remember to breathe in when you hear a car coming. And life in the fast lane can get a little crowded. Be careful out there.